Hey guys, what's up? This is Blaze, the movie film with you yet again. And it's time for another commentary video. This time I'm going to do another commentary on Guptill89. For those of you who don't know who Guptill89 is, well, let me explain. He's basically a guy who is infamous for making terrible rants and that prettiest looking Sonic female characters list. Yeah, he is pretty infamous on YouTube. Not as infamous as the Irate Gamer, but there are a lot of commentaries done on him. Today I am going to look at a recent rant by that guy. And is the rant bad? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's watch it. Rack. What an appropriate title, because most of his rants are rack. The only rant of his that I actually liked was his rant on spelling errors. I actually agree with that. I think it's stupid that people use spelling error on YouTube comments.
As a follow-up to Rant episode 3, I've discovered more things that are wrong with the machines and devices today.
Really? Let's hear what you have to say.
Since I already talked about the compatibility issues on computers and the pixel resolution of regular channels and the dumb button layout on HD TVs.
How exactly are those buttons stupid? Please, alright, he explained it in another video. Never mind.
It's time to move on to other issues. Now, what other thing could possibly have flaws? Well, you'll probably jump when you hear this. Cars! What on earth is wrong with cars today, I hear you claim?
Well, there is one problem that I have with cars. They are way too expensive. I mean, you have to pay for gas money, insurance, get my car cleaned up, and a lot more. That is the reason why I never ever want to have driving license.
Well, calm yourself and allow me to explain. For the most part, the ways cars perform today are great. Yet, when it comes to certain parts, there are three minor things that don't seem right. Digital screens for certain elements like the speedometer, temperature gauge and fuel gauge, electric window openers, and remotes that make the car honk.
Wait! How exactly are those bad things? I actually think those are very neat features.
First, let's discuss the electric window openers. The car has to be turned on in order for the openers to be operated, obviously. So if it starts to rain or snow and your windows are open, you have to get your keys, turn on the automobile, operate the buttons, and finally turn off the vehicle.
Alright, Guptill, let me ask you this. Who the fuck would leave his car with his windows open? I'm sorry, that's just very stupid, man. It's common sense to leave the car with their windows closed.
But what if you misplace your keys as well as a spare key?
Well, let me answer that question. You should always put your car key on a place you remember it. I don't have a car personally, but let me tell you this, Guptill. I always bring my key of my home when I leave the building. So if you misplace your car key, it's your own damn fault, and you should learn from that mistake by not doing it again.
Say hello to a huge pile of cabin snow or big puddles on the seats if the car isn't in a garage.
I'm sorry to say this, but you would be stupid by not closing your car windows and doors when you leave it.
While misplacing your car keys is very rare, it still happens.
You're right, it's very rare for it to happen, and that's the reason why we shouldn't worry about it.
Do you remember window crankers?
Yeah, I remember those things. They were just so fucking slow, it wasn't even funny.
They were better since you didn't have to go to all that trouble.
What the hell are you talking about? Those things were slow as hell. Let's say that you're in a hurry and you really need to close the window. Well, tough shit, because those things closed the window slowly. And not to mention, it felt uncomfortable using them at times.
They could be operated with or without the automobile on.
See here? It took him pretty long to close that window. And again, you should close the window before you leave the car with your keys.
But you know what's really sad? When I was discussing window crankers with my car dealer, he mentioned that only 2% of the auto industry use them.
And that's because they absolutely fucking suck.
And yet people say that's progress? Yeah, right!
I already explained why those things suck, and you know what? I am not repeating myself, Guptill.
By the way, if the car goes into water, the engine shortens out and you wouldn't be able to control the windows.
So you're talking about if your car goes into water and sinks? Well, in that kind of a situation, you should close the windows first, and when the car reaches the water, you should open the door and swim to safety.
Now let's discuss the digital meters and gauges. This is very minor.
If it's a minor thing, then why the fuck are you complaining about it?
But the problem with these things is that if a fuse is blown, you wouldn't ever be able to see how fast you were going, how cold or hot the cabin is, how much gas you have left, and so on.
I will admit, that's a pretty good point.
At least with needle-based gauges, a blown fuse isn't too big a problem except during the night. Finally, we come to the cars that make a tiny honk when you use their remotes. This also may be incredibly minor, but by my standards, it sounds like the driver is trying to get a pedestrian's attention when it's not their intent to begin with.
Personally, I think this would be very useful if you are at a parking lot in a mall or something and can't find your car.
The chirping sound doesn't have that problem. Better yet, vehicles that are silent are the least distracting.
Well, here's the problem. If you are at a mall parking lot and you can't find your car, it's going to be very difficult to find it without the sound. Yeah, sure, you can see the light of the car, but it still makes things more difficult.
Now we come to the second thing, the internet. For the most part, the internet can be very important for certain information.
I have to agree with you there. In fact, it's the best place for information.
News stories, video game walkthroughs, etc. However, the problem with these is that in order to get to the websites, you can pay up to $12,000 for a computer.
First of all, that's 1,200, not 12,000. Secondly, of course a computer is expensive. What did you expect? You can store so much into your computer, so it shouldn't be a surprise that a computer is expensive.
If you were going to use a game console, you'd pay up to $150.
Alright, Guptill, let me explain to you the difference between a video game console and a computer. Video game consoles are mostly used for playing video games. Computers can be used to store so much data. That is the reason why computers are more expensive than video game consoles.
It's true that there are tons of wealthy people who can afford those items, but what the community really doesn't seem to realize is that there are also poor people who can't afford something as expensive.
Alright, here is an idea. Get a job and save money for a computer or stuff like that. I will admit that it will take a long time to get enough money for it, but you know what? It's worth it, man.
Of course, internet cafes are much cheaper.
Yeah, they are, and I would be using internet cafes if I was out on the counter or something, but while I'm in this country, I would just use my computer, no problemo.
In spite of that, no matter what computer you use, the net can go down for a long time by way of a big mess up or hackers.
I don't think hackers is the reason why the internet can go down. Well, sure, it might be one of the reasons, but I think it's more commonly because there's a problem with the service.
Because of the web, newspapers and video rental places like Blockbuster are in trouble. When video rental stores and newspapers are lost, everything gets more expensive and the poor get squeezed out. In the long run, I can't justify spending about $900 to get onto Netflix.com and create an account just so I can rent a movie when I can visit Redbox or Blockbuster and get what I want for just $1.
You know what? That's a good point. Because you can get about everything on the internet. Video rentals can run out of business. And newspaper companies can also run out of business as you can read the news on the internet. You know what? I actually agree with you there. That's a good point, man. Well done.
I could say the same thing about payphones. Cell phones can cost about $20 to $200, and payphones usually only cost 50 cents to use.
Yeah, but it's a lot more convenient to have a phone on you, because if you have a phone on you, you can just call your friends, no problemo. Payphones, for the other hand, well, you have to wait in a line for that.
If a poor person purchases a cell phone, they can easily run out of minutes. Once that happens, they may need to use a payphone to make a call if they're away from home. Also, much like misplacing your car keys, you could forget your mobile phone by accident, and if you need to make an urgent call, it's time for payphone hunting.
Well, if you have a cell phone, you should be careful with it. Also, if you misplace your phone at home, you can just call it. That's what I always do.
Going back to the internet topic, what if in the future we would have to buy electronics strictly from BestBuy.com instead of the store, or hardware from the Home Depot's official website?
I order from Amazon all the time, so I don't see the problem.
American life is being turned upside down, and I don't think for good reasons.
Not just that, trust me, this affects the entire world.
Something else I have begun to have a beef with is online school classes. Again, does nearly everything have to be over cyberspace?
Well, concerning the fact that you can already do everything on the internet, my answer is yes.
The only advantage I can see with online classes is not having to drive to the school, especially in bad weather. Being in a classroom is better because you're always required to listen and do the assignments. Online classes can work the other way around. The information superhighway is the most distracting thing on the planet, and some students can easily stray from the college website and do poorly.
Another point I have to agree with you on. Yes, I agree with you there. If you're on the internet, you can easily be distracted by junk that you don't need. And that is why it's a better idea to be in the class than an online class. So yeah, I agree, man.
Of course, things similar to this have happened in the past, although something tells me it's more severe these days. The cartoon short Internet Distractions by College Humor paints a clear picture on how diverting the World Wide Web is. In conclusion, don't throw out window crankers.
Oh, please get rid of those things.
Video rental stores and newspapers should continue to thrive for decades, and online school classes can't be treated as another internet amusement.
So what is my final conclusion to this video? Well, Guptill did bring up some good points that I agreed with, but I disagree with most of the things that he said in the video, especially about those Windows crackers. I think they were just horrible. You know, I really think after watching this video that Guptill is an idiot. I am not saying this to insult him. I am saying this because there is no better way to describe him. I really think that Guptill is an idiot. I will admit, I'm an idiot myself. There is no denying it. But even though I'm an idiot, I could still spot all the flaws this video had. Well guys, I am glad to be back to doing commentaries. Expect more commentaries from me soon, because I really enjoy making them. Thank you all for watching, and you all have a great day.